sometimes you gotta let go of the people you actually care the most about. Now, not just like cast them aside and tell them to fuck off, eat shit, and die, but to just cast them aside for a short period of time in order to focus on what it is you actually want to focus on. I'll give you a little bit of an example. In my life, there were multiple instances where I had to sit down with the people I have the most respect for, the most love for, and the most, I guess, care for in terms of friendships and family and all that sort of stuff. And I had to have a tough conversation with them because I told them where I was going, what I wanted to do, the goals I wanted to obtain, and the lifestyle I wanted to build. And not all of them agreed or wanted me to do that, right? And so I had to sit down with them and I had to tell them, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do regardless of if you want me to do it or not. So in this case, you can either support me or just get out of my way, please. I'm happy to agree to disagree with my family members. I don't have an issue with that because most of them I care about them, even though they might not necessarily have the same beliefs I do or the same thinking patterns that I do. And that's fine. I don't really care about that. The point being, I care about obtaining something. I care about building something. I care about creating a life for myself that I enjoy, that I want to achieve. And I believe in, I don't really like the word believe, but I think that everybody should improve themselves, seek to better themselves on a day-to-day basis, on a foundational level. I've been reading the Iliad by Homer, the story for the Battle of Troy from start to finish. I'm like, let's say, at the very beginning of the book. And even though I've heard the story before from other people, saw movies, whatever, I wanted to make sure that I read the original story. It's actually very interesting the way it's written. Because the way it's written is it's written in a very non-linear way. Like, you see movies today, TV shows, hero journeys, all that sort of stuff. It's all written and all directed and all created in a very linear way. It's like, the hero does this, the hero happens this, the hero does that, this is what happens, then something bad happens, then he gets better from it, and then he achieves the outcome. In this case, it has nothing to do with that. The story is actually written as a lesson to become a better person. That you can pick up on different people's behaviors, that you can see how being emotional and succumbing to your emotions is actually a negative thing that they used to see back then. It's like the story between Menelaus and Paris of Troy, and how they dispute themselves upon Helen. And Helen is basically the most beautiful woman in Greece, and she's Menelaus' wife, and he's the king of Sparta. And so Paris is a prince of Troy, and he's very handsome, very good looking, whatever. And basically what happens is Paris seduces Helen and falls in love with her, and she falls in love with him somehow. And she doesn't really want to pick a side, but she feels like it's the most exciting thing to do, to go with Paris and to have this fling, this interesting thing happen in her life. And so throughout the whole course of the story, it is basically hammered down that this decision that she made was completely emotional, completely irrational, completely stupid. And this is what has caused all of the men around her to behave in very bad ways. This is why Menelaus went to see Agamemnon, his brother, and Agamemnon, the king of, the leader of Greece, decided, you know what, this is a perfect reason, this is a perfect reason why we should actually beat up the Trojans and steal what they have. And it all started with a woman really just wanting to go out on a fling and have this adventure or whatever the fuck. And because it's exciting, it's emotionally stimulating. And so throughout the whole story, they explain how that's actually a bad thing and how she has caused the doom of Troy by simply having this emotional and irrational decision. And I thought that was very interesting because most people today actually behave like this. They behave in a very emotional and irrational way. And they don't really feel like they should be responsible for the consequences of their actions. But the story of the Iliad is a perfect representation of your choices, whether they be logical or illogical, irrational. They all have consequences. So, in this case, we need to think for ourselves, okay, are the people around me, do they have the best intent at heart for me? Or do they just want me to be, to follow in line with what they want? Or do they want me to make sure that I respect their vision of reality? Or do they want me to follow some kind of dream or aspiration or whatever? Or do they want me to be better, but they don't want me to be better than they are because otherwise they would feel insignificant? This is what happens to a lot of people. A lot of people feel more insecure about themselves and how other people are, in which if somebody is better than you, you feel insecure about yourself, and so you seek to grow or you seek to belittle the person that is better than you. Those are the two different outcomes for the most part. You're either jealous and you want what the other person has, and you do your best to belittle that person, to make sure that you put yourself above that person in terms of status, in terms of personal prowess, in terms of skill, whatever it may be. And the other reason is, this guy's better than me. He's trying to do better. In that case, I'll pick him up on his challenge and I'll compete with him in a very friendly way to make sure that I am also doing better. So that way everybody is upheaving themselves to do better. So-and-so is doing better, so I need to do this. So-and-so did 100 push-ups, so I need to do 101. So-and-so did competition and won the competition, so next time I'm going to do the competition as well and I'm going to win. It's friendly competition in order to improve the competency, the capability of men around you. And so at the end of the day, you need to really think for yourself, like, what have you been doing? What have you been thinking? What do you think about this subject, about this topic? Would you rather everybody be worse off than you do? Would you rather be the best out of everybody around you and have everybody just suck up to you and be a sycophant? Or would you rather have an environment where everybody's doing their best, everybody's trying their best, and on a day-to-day basis they look at themselves and they think to themselves, how can I do better? How can I push myself to do just a little bit more so I can beat this person, so I can beat that person, so I can get better overall? Because this is something that we have lost over the course of history. And when you go back and you read those books that have been translated, that have been passed down, the stories, I've been reading the Iliad recently, but I've also got a few other ones that I intend to read in my collection I've read a few books so far. I've read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. I've read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I've read The Prince by Machiavelli. So I'm reading the Iliad and the Odyssey, whatever. And I've also got the Aeneid from Virgil. And another one I intend to read is the Anabasis. And I've got a few other ones from Plutarch as well. And these are stories that set like idealized examples and versions of who we can be as men. And what kind of ideal should we live up towards in order to do better. And I think this is something that everybody should read. Everybody should cultivate themselves and understand what it is about. Because it's not when you look at the movies and you look at Hollywood and you go at the cinema and whatever, and you see the representations of those pieces of art, pieces of literature, pieces of stories, and how they're represented in the cinema, and when you compare them to the actual story or the book, you actually see how flawed and how completely different it has been subjected to. It has been completely changed, like the movie The Odyssey recently. It has been completely changed in order to make it more spectacular for people to be entertained. It has nothing to do with the core message of the story, which was you have to do better. You have to be humble. You have to become a better man. And you have to do better. That is the core foundation of the story of the Odyssey, the Iliad, and all of these old, ancient stories. Every single time. And so you need to think for yourself, what are you going to do with this information? What are you going to do? How are you going to behave? What kind of life are you going to live on a day-to-day basis? And you need to think for yourself, what am I going to do? Should I be really doing this? Should I look into something different? Should I believe something specific? What should I do? And to be perfectly honest with you, there is no straight answer with this. The point is, you need to come up with your own version of thinking about this. And you need to be like, this is what I'm going to stick to, and I'm going to be right until somebody can prove me wrong. That's basically what I've done over the past years of my life so far. I've always stuck to this principle of I'm always right until somebody can prove me wrong. And that may be in a very rational way, it may be a logical way, but I need somebody to prove me wrong if I want to be wrong. Otherwise, I might prove myself wrong from time to time if somebody says something interesting or pertinent or valuable. But in that case, I usually stick with my own thoughts and my own conclusions. Because to be perfectly honest with you, it's kind of like being a wizard. I heard this story recently of somebody who said that there were 4 different types of men. There is the king, who is responsible for everybody around him and is going to sacrifice himself for the betterment of everybody else. There is the magician, or the wizard. In this case, he's very knowledgeable, his input is very valuable, but he procrastinates a little bit too much, and he doesn't really want to take action, but he knows everything, and he tells people what to do, and he guides them on the right path. Another one is I'm pretty sure it was the I guess you could say the feeler, or the guy who's more in touch with his emotions, more of like sensual kind of guy, and he feels the world for what it is. He can feel the ants. He can feel what it feels like to be an ant. He can feel what it feels like to be the wind crossing through the mountains. That kind of stuff, you know. And the last one, I believe, if I remember correctly, I don't think I'm going to remember, but the point being, there are a couple different types of people that you can actually be, a few different types of characters that you can incorporate, and you can, I guess, become. And for the most part, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are strictly within one of these categories, but you have different levels in terms of these categories of types of different people that you can be. And maybe you're a little bit of this person, maybe you're a little bit of that person, maybe you're a little bit of this person, maybe you're a massive in this category. But a point being, I want to talk about this subject that is very, very crucial to me, which is sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice some people that you really care about in order to get what you want, in order to achieve what you really, really want. This is what I had to do when I first started my journey, like roughly 4 years ago. I had to sit some people down, like my parents. I had to sit down with them. I had to sit down with a bunch of my friends. I used to have a lot of friends, and I used to be a part of a lot of different groups on social media, on Discord, and just playing video games with them like every single day. And when I stopped playing video games, I had to sit down with them. Whenever they would call me, they would say, "Hey, hop on the game, bro." And I would tell them like, "No, I'm working on something else, so I'm not gonna have as much time as I used to do, to just play video games with you. So unless you want to have a chat, like a real heart to heart, I'm down for that. Like, I'm down to have a chat from time to time, but I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I don't really want to play video games anymore. I want to focus on something more important in my life." And some of them, like I mentioned at the start of this video, there are going to be two types of people that are going to respond to this message. For my case, in this case, there were two types of people. They were, first off, the people who rejected the idea. They was like, "Oh, what are you talking about? That's completely stupid. You're never going to do this. Just stop thinking about it. Just come play with us, bro. Like, come have fun with us, bro. Like, what are you talking about?" And they never presented a very good argument or a very rational and sound conclusion as to why I shouldn't be pursuing this and I should spend more time with them. It was purely emotional. It was purely attached to familiarity, because, and this is what I talked about yesterday, because yes, I post videos every single day on this channel. If you want to go check those out, you can do that on the channel itself. But basically, there were two types of people, and that first part was very emotional, very, we don't want you to leave. And I was like, okay, why don't you want me to leave? Because why? Like, why are you gonna leave us alone? Like, what the fuck why are you leaving? And it wasn't very rational, right? But on the other hand, the other people that actually supported my decision, and they were like, "You know what, you're right. That's actually a good decision. I support you fully. You have my support." Even one of those friends of mine sent me $1,000 to help me out, transfer from different places, to make sure I had enough money to pay for food and rent. He sent me $1,000. I didn't even ask him for it. He just said like, "Hey, do you need some money to make sure everything's covered? Do you need, like, what do you need help with?" And he said, and I told him, "No, it's fine. Like, I mean, I would definitely need a little bit of money, but like, I don't want to force you to give me anything." And he said, "Yeah, no problem, bro. Like, how much do you need?" And I said like, "Oh, I don't know, maybe like $1,000. And he said, "All right, done." And I was like, that is the kind of person who actually supports your decisions and actually is a real friend. And those are the kinds of people that I respect the most. Because this is a guy I met on a video game, and to this day I'm still speaking to him, I'm still talking to him, and we have good conversation from time to time. And he's a pretty good dude. He's actually like a chef, I'm pretty sure. He's quite young. I think he's younger than I am. And he's a chef. And I remember one time I invited him to my house and he cooked me a meal, and it was pretty fucking good. But other than that, basically it's just to say, some people are going to reject the ideas when you want to grow as a person, when you want to change. Some people are going to reject that change, and some people are going to embrace it. Some people are going to support you. And don't be scared. Don't feel guilty about cutting out for some period of time the people who actually reject your ideas and reject the change that you want to go through. Don't be scared. Don't be ashamed. Don't feel guilty about rejecting those people for either forever or for a short period of time, because you need to focus on what's important for you. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you guys watching until the end of the video. As per usual, like, comment, subscribe. You can check out the other videos on the channel. And with that said, it's time to get back to work. It's a beautiful day. It doesn't matter if the clouds are out, because the sun will still shine in the morning. With that said, I will see you in the next one tomorrow. See ya.